what I did wrong. And this time I'm doing it intentionally. So let's see here. What I want to be able to do is fool around on this. There you go. What do you know? Okay, so I should be able to do all kind of fun stuff here now. Being able to, oh look, it'll do that. It'll do this, right? Yeah, okay. And then I can see, can I see how many people are on this thing? I'll probably, maybe we'll just, this is the trial of it. Let's see, before I was able to, oh, it's this. There you go. Boink. Yeah. Wow, somebody's already here. Okay. I hope you went on 2 times speed and watched the other one. See, there's I own these copyrights for both of these guys. Let's go back one. All right, the 12 presumptions of the Roman court. Oh, what was, we were playing a little game. What was missing from that court appearance? Did they ever ask me my name? Everybody else that went to court that day, state your name. They didn't ask me to state my name. Now I have to figure out how to fill out the form that says special appearance, because I'm going to let them know that I'm appearing specially, not generally. But actually, like I said, you don't, the man doesn't appear. The man is here. I'm here to settle this matter. I'm here without recourse. I'm here, all rights reserved. I'm here to ask some questions. I'm here not to argue. I'm here. Okay, I'm here as the name holder and copyright holder, but I'm not that name. The living man is Rogers Ben Hosea. Okay, so you're in the Roman court. They're doing Roman stuff. They are basically what we've got is the Baal, Ishtar, and Moloch are returning, or the spirit thereof. That would be Israel. Israel. Baal, that would be Saturn, the possessor. That would be the bull. Then there's the enchantress, and this is the 3 faces. This is the Trinity that they're talking about. See, the Christians think when we were talking about the Trinity, that we're talking about Father, Son, and Holy Ghost. And even then, it should be man, woman, and father that produce the child. And when I say father, I mean Heavenly Father. I mean the God of the universe, the all-power, the thing that we're all part of, the thing that Christ, Jesus, tried to tell you that, hey, I'm the embodiment of the Son of Man, more perfect than many. Came here to show you the way and how to be and how to do unto others as you should do, that is you would want them to do unto you, and the basic 3, right? Forgive, love self, love your God, forgive self, forgive your God, and forgive, well, not forgive your God, but forgive. When I say that, I mean the God that is everybody here is the God, the Alpha and the Omega. And the consciousness of those that are here is rising, and there's nothing they can do about it. Anyway, forgiveness for all your fellow man, if you like that better, because you don't consider your fellow man to be God. But all of us are God. The whole thing is God. Problem is, when I'm in my little individual inhabitation of this vessel, of this body, and you look in the code, and it talks all about the vessel, you're going to find out that you inhabit this body, and it's very difficult to get to the point where you realize the Godhead, or you realize the fact that you're just a part of this huge entity, the Christ consciousness. Okay, and you have to accept the Christ consciousness. And it's not so easy for some people. Okay, and then what's the third thing? So love yourself, love your God. And that way you can do unto others as you would have them do unto you. The forgiveness. And then what? Service. You're going to serve somebody, either knowingly or unknowingly. All these atheists that think they're serving nobody but themselves, incorrect. A lot of them are turning out to be serving Ishtar or Baal or Moloch, directly or indirectly. Or they serve money, or they serve technology, or they techne, or they serve porne, which is porn. And you can get it free all over the place. And of course, Ishtar offers you her devotees for free on the internet. And if you watch porn, and I admit I used to watch some porn with my girlfriend usually, to set the thing. But now it's just become crazy. What is it? It's it's no longer the just a couple of people having sex. It's always something twisted, like, oh, they're related, like in the family, or it's your sister, your stepsister, or stepmother, or whatever. Or sometimes it's, incest porn seems to be a thing. What the fuck? And then just all kind of that's what it is. The enchantress has possessed many of the people that you see on TV, making music and music videos and performing in Super Bowl and because it's Ishtar, it's Isis, it's Astora, and of course that spirit perverts man into woman, woman into man, all kind of sexual perversion, etc. So, and Astora, that would be the female version. Astor, is there an Astor family? Would be the and the Waldorf Astoria. What goes on at that hotel? Anyhow, Aphrodite and Venus, just coincidence, I'm sure that those names come up like that. And then, okay, so you have Baal, that would be the Ra in Israel. Then you have Isis, that would have pretty easy, Israel. And then you have Moloch, the king, El himself, the Saturn, the black cube. Moloch is the destroyer, the king. And what is he like? He liked the child sacrifice, right? He liked abortions. He liked war. Lots and lots of sacrifice. Okay, so those are the three. And PED, just remember it that way, right? Pedo, the possessor, the enchantress, and the destroyer. Okay, the three of them, three faces of the one thing, the Satan, the Lucifer, the guy that or could be a girl, all right? Male, female, not the same as with us. We basically, I have no ability using my mind to change my sex. I can use technology and scalpels and stuff, but I can't just think, okay, I don't want to be a man today, I'll be a woman today. Sorry, can't happen. Although a lot of these people want you to say that they have this ability, that I'm not a man anymore, I'm a woman. Look, I dress like one. No. Can you have a baby? Nope. Then on the other end of it, I'm not a woman anymore, I'm a man. I want to be a man. So, can you impregnate another woman? No. Can you bear a child? Yes. Okay, well, sorry. All right, so the idea being is that these people are coming under the spell or under the spirit of these entities, whether they know it or not. And the Christians, it's not so bad. It's not so much that they're, it's more, what is it? For evil to prevail, good men just do nothing. And that's what's happening. The Christians are afraid to speak. They're afraid to be persecuted. We have a gunman go into a church and kill Christians, and it's the Christian's fault, not the gunman or gunwoman or whatever that was. Okay, let's get to this, the 12 presumptions of the Roman court. So then you go in there, and they're going to make all kind of presumptions, and then you need to rebut each one of these presumptions, because if you don't rebut the presumption stands. Even if they didn't present it to you on paper, even if they didn't give you an affidavit saying this, right? You don't, but you still have to. This is the presumptions that you go in with. So I'm going to read it to you. A Roman court does not operate according to any rule of law. In fact, I did a whole. If you go to my homepage or you go to my channel, the video that comes on automatically talks about the fact that you ain't going to get law in the courts because they have perverted that with the swords and scales and the blindfold and the fact that she's not wearing a green robe and. Okay, so the presumptions are presented by the Bar Guild. They have, though everybody in there has an oath to the bar, but the bar has an oath to the Constitution. because that's how they got the license to do what they're doing, because they're supposed to be preserving your rights. All right. There are 12 key presumptions asserted by the private bar guild, which, if go unchallenged, stand as true. So here they are. If you can write them down or remember them so that you have them in your mind. Public record, public service. Ooh, they're supposed to be public servants. Public oath, immunity. Ooh, that's the one they did. That's the one that they are relying on, because the first thing they're going to come back to is sovereign immunity. That they're immune from prosecution or immune from anything because they're immune. But if they break their oath, they're not immune. If they're doing things that would otherwise be illegal, they have a license for that. But if they, and it's not actually that tricky. The fact that they violate rights, they're not allowed to violate your God-given rights. They're allowed to violate their own laws, though. They're allowed to violate code and statute left and right. They're allowed to treat you like a slave, because you are, until such time as you can tell them, hey, I don't want to be in a state of voluntary servitude anymore. I'm not consenting. See, because when I made that name Crouton Ramon, I got a document back that says Crouton Ramon is a living individual whose consent is considered to be of record. So living individual might not mean what you think. Individual, you need to figure out what that word means. You're not an individual, you're a man or a woman. Okay, so where was I? Immunity summons. Who do they summon? Can they summon the living man? No, they summon the dead. They summon the dead thing. The thing that was born after you. Because, oh, that's what I needed to put up here. Let's do that. Oh, no, I do have it there. Oh, look at this. Oh, I have the maxims of law here that we're going to go over also. All right, so we'll talk about each of these things and how they fit together. So, custody, and they got custody of you, one way or the other. Court of guardians, court of trustees. They make you the trustee, and they get to be the executor and beneficiary. Government as executor beneficiary. Executor de son tort, and then by his own right. And then incompetence, they consider you to be incompetent, and they fill out an SSA 80. I got to put that form up. Okay, we'll search it real quick. It'll be there. But somebody has to fill it out, and I'll tell you why they can fill it out, and I'll show you. It's right there on the document. And, of course, guilt. Doesn't matter, excuse me, doesn't matter whether you are pleading guilty, not guilty, or no contest. You're presumed to be guilty, because if you showed up, you're guilty. Simple. You wouldn't be there, because you're presumed to know that you're not supposed to come if the living man has no place in that courtroom. So that's why you'll see that they didn't ask me for my name, because they knew what I was going to say, because I tipped them off ahead of time, because it's not good to ambush a judge or the thing. So what did they do? Violated their own rules. Everybody else that day stated their name. They didn't ask me to state my name. The lawyers who was standing in for another lawyer basically said, hey, I'm here standing in, and I'm here for Ben Rogers. No, there is no Ben Rogers, and I've told them this numerous times. Well, it's not the fact that there is no Ben Rogers. It's the fact that there's so many Ben Rogers. But how many Rogers Ben Hoseas are there? I think there probably, if you look around, I'd be the only one. So the presumption of public record is that any matter, you can read this yourself, right, before the court is a matter of public record. But you'll see, if you want to, I'll look for that. When I asked, the first question I asked before I stated my name, is this a court of public record? Oh, they got a little testy with me and basically threw me out of the courtroom because I wouldn't give my name until they told me that we were in a matter of public record. It isn't a matter of public record. It's a private membership association doing good business. And the business is you. Okay, so it's in fact a private bar guild business matter. Unless openly rebuked, and that's what you're doing when you go in there. Is this a matter of public record? Okay, once you give their name, they'll lie to you and say, because they have immunity, yeah, it's a matter of public record. Sure, why not? Think whatever you want, slave. Okay, so you need to rebut that presumption. And here it says, the presumption of public record is, this presumption is rebutted. The matter this matter is recorded in a public environment as indicated by the public register on page 1. Okay, I don't have that. All right, presumption of public service. What you're thinking is these are public servants. Well, they certainly don't treat you like public servants, do they? And you can read that again for yourself, right? But the idea is that they openly and deliberately contradict their private superior oaths because their oath to the bar is superior to the oath to the Constitution. Unless you openly rebuke and reject the claim stands, and the Bar Guild members are legitimate public servants and therefore trustees under a public oath, and the possibility of the matter being a private matter is rebutted, right? So the possibility of this being a private matter should be rebutted. This is not a private matter. This is supposed to be a public matter. This is supposed to be a public court. Okay. So the possibility of this matter being a private matter is rebutted. All persons engaged in the matter at hand are deemed to be in public service as public servants. That's why you ask the sheriffs as they come to arrest you, are you a public servant? Are you in public service? Okay, presumption of public oath is that all members of the private bar capacity as public officials. And so they're supposed to have a public oath. And they're supposed to remain bound by that oath. And there is a, let me see here. Ecclesiastes 5:4. When thou vowest a vow unto God, defer not to pay it, for he hath no pleasure in fools. Pay that which thou hast vowed. Better, and then 5:5 is better it is that thou should not vow than thou shouldest vow and not pay. Okay, so don't make an oath and then don't honor the oath. Oh, very naughty. And then that comes back to that other document I showed you. That is, where is? Let me get the document. So don't just talk about it. Show it. It should be right here. Yep. Look at me, all organized. Right here. And I'm going to have to do one where I streamed. And okay, so I figured out what happened is that this tablet that I'm on, it turns stuff on because if you use your fingers, which is a touch screen, you can turn things on and off by accident. And obviously, I now know, see, I learned how to do this. This is considered screencasting. I'm not streaming. Well, I'm streaming a screencast. But anyway, on this notice document that I showed you yesterday, Article 6, Clause 1 is the one about jury trials in the Confederacy and so forth. But if you go down to Article 2, Section 4, that's the one about if they don't honor their oaths, they don't have immunity anymore. Article 2, Section 4, right? That's why we just have those little things right there that you can barely read because it's in the circle. But anyway, pause and take a look at that. I'm trying to hold it as still as possible. All right. And if not, I put the link to the page where I got this notice, which was at sovereignliving.org. Okay. So, unless openly challenged and demanded, the presumption stands that the private bar guild members have functioned under public oath in contradiction to their guild oath. If challenged, such individuals must recuse themselves as having a conflict of interest. That's what the public defenders said to me. The whole public defenders on my, we got a conflict of interest with these guys because we can't serve this guy because we have an oath. So their oaths are conflicting. Who do they serve? The bar, or the man, or the constitution? The bar. That's who. So they cannot possibly stand under a public oath. So the possibility of this is rebutted, and all public servants acting on behalf of this matter are required to state all sworn oaths, both public and private. Well, they don't want to, do they? Presumption and immunity, or presumption of immunity. Okay, so it takes some cojones. You got to be able to stand up. And see, that's the problem. The Christians aren't standing up. They're standing silent. They're letting themselves be abused. They're letting their kids and other people's children, other people's sons and daughters, let's use the right language here. You're going to have to get precise with your language. Kids. Oh, man. Kids are baby goats. What are baby goats for? Baby goats are for sacrifice. Children. Oh, that's a child wren. That is a term, a legal term. They're not children. They're your sons and daughters. Okay, so the presumption of immunity is that key members of the private bar guild, in the capacity of public officials, acting as judges, prosecutors, magistrates, etc., public defenders, attorneys, have sworn a solemn public oath in good faith and are immune from public claims of injury and liability unless openly challenged and their oath demanded. Their presumption stands that the members of the private bar guild, okay, and see, I demanded to see the oath. Man, he didn't want to show it to me. Well, you can look it up. You can go ask the administrator of the courts. I have now, since then, Oops. Let's grab that. We can talk about the defects. See, because they're assuming that the slave doesn't know what the hell he's looking at. Which was... Oh dear, is it not here? I swear it was right here. You ever go to look for something and then it's not there? That's what I just did. Okay, so maybe it's on this side. You can see it because it's got lovely curly Q writing on it. Oh, really? Right, I thought I had put everything together so that when I got to this point in the video, everything would be there. Nope, that's not it. Okay, perhaps I put it in this other folder. That's the only place it could be. And if it's not there, then I put it someplace else so that it would be handy, and then I made it so that it's not handy. But anyway, their oath, there's no notary on it. It's just signed by another judge. And if that's the case, well, great, but you need 2 witnesses, not just 1, don't you? All right, there's all my Minnesota. There's the assumed name. There's some proof of services. All right, we're going to have to come back for another video to show you that. But I have them. And actually, it would be better because I'll do the streamcast, and then you can see what the issue is. But it looks all official and cool and stuff. But, yeah, it's not there. Okay. Boo. I just have to laugh because I'm thinking about court. Anyway, see, if they were smart, what they would have done is just got rid of me. Instead, what they've done is made sure that I continue to educate myself. And then, of course, as I come down the stream, I can't share everything because that will show my hand because they watch these videos. But at the same time, I can share quite a bit so that you guys can see and there's lots of videos on YouTube that talk about the tricks and traps. Oh, look, here's a Form 56. What are you going to use that for? All right. There's the treasuries. There's this. Like I said, watch on 2 times speed so that while I'm fumbling around like this, you don't have to. There's my FOIA request. And there's that. Okay, don't have it. All right, so never mind. I thought I was all organized because I put everything in the folders ready for this, but okay. They're supposed to have oaths. As simple as that. So look at it says here. This is absolutely rebutted. Any person acting as an agent for a nameless, faceless corporation, state of Hawaii, in this case, is wholly personally responsible for their actions on behalf of that corporation. All actions injuring any trying to read English here, sorry. All actions incurring any degree of injury will incur notice of injury, including severe financial penalty. That would be your counterclaims, and you have to notice them. How many times have I said it? The devil gives notice. You got to give them notice, and you got to give them a chance to rebut the notice. Right, so you give them first notice, second notice, and then finally default. If they stand silent, well, then they agree that you may have been injured. Otherwise, they're going to come back with whatever. But here's the thing. How are they going to talk to you? Are they going to send stuff through the mail? Well, if they send their stuff through the mail, there's quite a bit of stuff there that says, or that is fraudulent conveyance of language or fictitious conveyance of language. And you're not supposed to use the Postal Service to send fraudulent or fictitious conveyance of language because that would be a violation of 18 U.S.C. 1001. Okay, because they're going to be using a false name. Because they're not going to be sending it. They're going to be sending it, the business name, Ben Hosea Rogers, to the private person, Rogers Ben Hosea, at that address. Okay. Anyway, so presumption of summons. It is by customs that a summons is unrebutted and stands. Well, they didn't summon me. And this is the other thing. When they came, they used a trick. They called the hotel room that I was in and said to come down to the lobby because I forgot to sign some papers. And then when I left the hotel room, they came and that's when they grabbed me. That's when they snatched me. And I told the guy at that moment that he was kidnapping me. And he didn't care. All right, well, his bond is in jeopardy. because they didn't have a warrant, they didn't have a indictment, they didn't have anything. They just had a piece of paper from a judge on Maui, and they were serving that thing over there in Arizona. And that would be conspiracy against rights, wouldn't it be? Now, that would be racketeering. That would be all kind of fun stuff. Okay, so anyway, so when I walked into court, I didn't go in there under my own free will. I was in there in handcuffs, and I had been kidnapped. Okay, so anyway, it is by custom that a summons is rebutted and stands, and therefore one who attends court is presumed to accept the position of defendant, juror, or witness. Okay, on my documents it says defendant, but I always put defendant in error. Living man can't be defendant, by the way. Juror or witness, and jurisdiction of the court, or it is presumed that the court has jurisdiction. Attendance to court usually is invitation by summons, unless the summons is rejected and returned with a copy of the rejection filed prior to choosing to visit to it or attend, right? Because you choose to attend, supposedly. But I wasn't choosing because I was forced. So I was there under duress. Jurisdiction and position as the accused of the existence of guilt stands, right? Because that's the thing. You wouldn't be there if you weren't guilty, is what they're presuming. The presumption is absolutely rebutted on this occasion or past occasions and in all future occasions. However, at no time are we absent nor silent with regard to the matters at hand. So that's the thing. Don't stand silent. Why? Because, again, the 4 ways to respond, silence is one of them, and silence agrees. Oh, let's look at that real fast. Let's see if we can find it here. Yeah, you're supposed to know who you're dealing with, but how do I don't know how to do a search on. Let's see here. Do I? Because I'm on my tablet. All right, well, let's go to that over here, and I'll find it this way because I got my computer handy. I'm being fast. There you go. Boom. Perfect. All right. So just type in silence. And what do we get? Really? I get nothing? Did I spell it wrong? Yes. What is expressed renders what is implied silent. There you go. Let's see here. Anything else when it comes to silent? Oh, yep, there it is. He who is silent appears to consent. Things silent are sometimes considered as expressed. Ooh, to conceal is one thing, to be silent is another. And I think that's it for silence when it comes to the maxims that I have here. Yep, all right. So, let's see here. Where was that? I have to go down. Expressions and words. Nope, keep going. Because I want you to see it for your own selves. So because I could be reading anything to anyone. And that comes under right and wrong. Okay, so let's go. Expression of words, fictions, fraud and deceit. God and religion. Governments and heirs, judges and judgment. Look at all these. And these maxims, like I said, you should know a lot of these maxims, or be conversant with them at least, and then understand what a maxim is. Let's see here. Officers, possession, property and land, right and wrong. There it is. And also, it's not lawful to do evil that good may come of it. But there it is. He who is silent appears to consent. The things silent are sometimes considered to be expressed, and to conceal one thing. To conceal is one thing, but to be silent is another. Okay, and concealment of truth is equivalent to a statement which is false. Suppression of a fact, which should be disclosed, is the same in effect as willful misrepresentation. They're not allowed to willfully misrepresent to you. Okay, so let's go back to the other. So when you're doing these presumptions, some of that can definitely be considered willful misrepresentation if they're trying to make you think that it's a public court, a public record, when actually they're doing private business. Well, wouldn't that be naughty? Okay, and let's see, this comes from the maxims. These are axioms at law. They can't ignore this. These are the ones that they can't just go, okay, I'm just gonna pretend like that doesn't exist. They can't, because they're maxims. That's like pretending that the laws of geometry don't exist, or that addition doesn't work the way it does. That addition is actually subtraction. Well, subtraction is actually negative addition, right? You're not really subtracting, you're adding a negative. That's a little math there for you. And also very difficult to prove the existence of a negative. Anyway, all right, so this one, the presumption of custody, is that by custom or summons, a warrant for arrest, unrebutted, stands, and therefore one who attends court is presumed to be a thing, and therefore liable to be detained into custody by custodians, because you're a thing. Are you identified? Right? Identity? Id, the thing. Right? Let's see here. Got to start knowing what the words mean. So those things are not flesh and blood. That's why you ask, am I your property? Because they can't be custodians of property, of living property, of things that are flesh and blood. Souls. They're not allowed. Okay, so the presumption stands that you're a thing and property, and therefore lawful. So you might ask the question. You're not in there to argue. You're just asking a question. Who claims me as property? Who claims this name as property? That it's their property? Who claims that I am your property? Nobody is going to say yes. Oh, except I had one ridiculous sheriff in Arizona that said, well, technically you're our property. She was correct, though. However, I had rebutted that presumption numerous times on paper, asking for a warrant, which, because I couldn't rebut the warrant, because there wasn't any warrant to rebut. Okay. Let's see here. So this is a longer one. This presumption is absolutely rebutted. We are alive and well, and we are not things, and we are not in the custody by custodians or guardians. We are not a thing. We are not the property of the Roman court and the Roman Empire, or the Roman Empire. Under no circumstances may we be detained in any way whatsoever, nor at any time, past, present, or future. Okay, so I'm not going to put the Roman court thing in there, but it's a Roman court. It's the curia. It's what we have. What we have is the East India Company on the land of North America, and a bunch of these guys basically. It's Roman law, and through the Catholic Church and through the their emissaries, known as the Windsors, and that's not their name. See, that's the thing, Christians get pissed at me. You don't even know the name of Jesus. Because the J, Jesus, we didn't have a J in the language until just recently. So unless you think that Jesus was around within the last 200 years, it can't be Jesus. Isa, Yeshua, Emmanuel, but not Jesus. But it's fine, because if you believe in the Christ consciousness and your thought is about Jesus, and apparently Jesus Christ is quite the swear word among the worshippers of Baal, Isis, and Moloch. They don't like to hear the word Jesus Christ. So don't take that, use that sparingly. And when you do it in the most positive manner that you can, right? Where you serve the Christ. If you serve the Christ consciousness, good things are going to come to you. And once again, I'm no longer talking through belief. I got thrown into the Errant Boys Club for 143 days, and I was doing things that amazed me, because I was laying hands on some of these guys, and I mean, these guys with bullet wounds. These are the only one was that it bounced or it didn't work, or it was a very strange outcome. Was a guy that was a foot soldier of Satan. He showed me his little shrine with all these skulls and upside down crosses. And anyway, he worshipped Satan. No bones about it. Wasn't shy. And he had murdered a person and gotten away with it. And he was in there on another charge. But he was very taunted on about the fact that he had gotten away with murder. And Satan must have been protecting him, because just so happens that all the cameras, there are so many cameras in the area. It was happened at a 7-Eleven or one of those minute stop, quick stop things that they have there in Arizona. And the camera didn't catch him. There was no angle that showed that it was him, so they couldn't identify him as the person 100%. And of course, he got rid of the weapon and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, he murdered a woman and got away with it. Anyway, and he was proud of it. Anyway, I tried to lay hands on him and nothing happened. Others, though, who were repentant and who were not, and who we were saying the Lord's Prayer before we went to bed. I had these guys actually saying the Lord's Prayer. Many of them were Catholics, and many of those Catholics, they also get into the worshiping of the elder gods and blood sacrifice and so on. I won't go too deep there, but there are other guys, and they know what they're doing is wrong. And so anyway, the long story short is I ministered to these guys. I gave them Bible passages to read because you can get Bibles in jail. And I laid hands on them. And again, not me. And I made them read where basically even the Christ, even Jesus said, I didn't heal you. It was your belief that healed you. Right? By your faith, you're healed. The woman that touched his robe and instantly was cured. That's what happened with me. And I have a little sheet of paper where many of them wrote down, yeah, this guy healed me, or this guy was better than therapy, or this guy, right? Okay, and I told, it's not me. It's the Christ consciousness. It's a real thing, people. I can speak with experience. I am no longer talking from belief. I don't believe that happened. I witnessed it happened numerous times, over and over again, to the point where there were some days where from morning till afternoon, I would be just laying hands on people. Okay, and I got off on that tangent because the idea is that you are not, let's skip it. But the idea being is that what I was talking about here is these presumptions, and it's the Roman thing that they got going on when they take custody of you, when they drag you into the jail system. And that jail system was set up by the other guy. It wasn't set up by Christ, for sure. It wasn't set up by the good guys. It was set up by the bad guys. It was set up by the demons, or the people that worship demons. Okay, anyway, presumption of the Court of Guardians is the presumption that you may also be listed as a resident or a ward of a local government. And see, I told them that I was non-resident. That I rebutted. But see, I didn't understand my status, that all you have to do is say it out loud, but you should write it down and get some documents back, and then let them know that, hey, even these guys, when I asked them, let's see, I have my Freedom of Information request, when I asked them, excuse me, do you have any record of me, and the me that we're talking about, I misspoke in that video yesterday because, I'll put it right there. The me that I'm talking about is that all caps name, which isn't me, which is the business that I am the name holder for. That's not me, which is the proof from the Minnesota Secretary of State. And there's other ways to go about this, but this U.S. Citizen and Immigration Services has no record. This document basically says, has no record of me. And I'm going to put these online someplace. But, I mean, there it is. So my presumption is no longer just me writing it down and saying, hey, I'm rebutting this presumption. My presumption, your presumption, is rebutted by your own folks, by the Department of Homeland Security and the U.S. Citizen and Immigration Services. They don't have any record of the name, all caps name, being a U.S. citizen. How that? Okay, so it's not my word against theirs. It's their word, written down on paper. Anyway, okay, so not a citizen, not a resident. What's the other word for citizen? Employee. Okay, everything that you say in court and anything you say to an officer and it will be used against you, can never be used for you. Okay, that doesn't mean you stand silent. So if you stand silent, you better have some facts or evidence to back up those facts. So that's what I was doing, gathering facts and evidence. And that's what I have now in my possession. And now, inform others. Again, I showed you, you got to let the guys that watch the guys, the puny court, the circuit court, the lowest court that you're going to be in, traffic court or whatever it is, there's courts above them, and there's courts above that. And then there's officers above that. Okay. So, and those are the guys you want to let know, because the guys will always say, oh, we investigated ourselves and we didn't do anything wrong. So you might want to have some people that aren't them investigate them. And guess what? The district courts are in cahoots. So then where do you go? Well, you got to go over to Article 3, Section 2, which basically says Supreme Court. But you can only go to the Supreme Court of Article 2, Article 3, Section 2, Clauses 2 and 3. That's the Supreme Court. They have original jurisdiction in matters where it's men and so forth. Article 2, Section 4, that's where, if they've violated their oaths, that's where they can be in trouble. But you got to notice them that they're violating their oaths, because they don't know they're violating their oaths. Me violate my oaths? I didn't violate. I was just doing my job. Article 4, Section 4. Brah, you got to give me one Republican form of government. Simple as that. Article 1, Section 2, Article 1, Clause 8, Clause 17. Where is your jurisdiction? Inside that 10 square miles on the Potomac over in that place called Washington, D.C. Using your imagination to say that here on the island of Maui, or Maui Island, see, as soon as you put the of in there, in Maui County, not County of Maui is the corporation, State of Hawaii is the corporation, United States is the corporation, United States is, USA Inc. Okay, so you got to understand that that whole corporation is running this whole show all the way down to the local level. And it has been infiltrated not by Christians, but by other than Christians. Because most of the Christians just want to be left alone. Most of the Christians, they don't want to bother with getting involved in the experiment of self-government. Most of them. Let's see here. So let's see. We're still at the presumption of the Court of Guardians. Okay. You may be listed as a resident or a ward of a local government, which, like I said, in this case, the local government is County of Maui or State of Hawaii, and have listed on your passport the letter P. You are a pauper, and therefore under the Guardian powers of. That's why I always have silver in my pocket when I go to court, because I'm not a pauper if I've got a couple of bucks in my pocket, a couple of dollars in my pocket. If you only have debt in your pocket, well, then you're a pauper, right? Because you're going to think, and the average slave will argue with you. Wait, I got this. And I got this. Okay, which is worth more? This whole and this bundle is mostly ones. But let's see here, because this is my bus fare bundle. I've been doing Babylon by bus, and it's been a heck of a lot of fun. Interesting characters you meet on the bus. And I've gotten to know some of them because the people that ride the bus are the people that ride the bus. They have monthly passes and so forth. All right, so look, there is 3 of these bills, 2 5s and a 10. That would make $20, which is worth more to the average slave. This piece of silver or this. Well, right now, I used to be able to get these for $5. Now you can't touch one for more than $30, $35. So it's more than this. But I guarantee you, if you offer this or this to the slave will take the debt. Now, here's the thing. When you walk into court, this is debt in your pocket. They know this. Okay. They won't take silver. Right? They will not. The silver is like the silver bullet to these guys. And I've heard all kind of fun stories about silver. All right. So the idea being is that this is debt. This is actually money. So if you have only this in your pocket or this in your bank account, and this is all you're going to ever have in your bank account, you're a pauper. Because, again, and I've said it before, gold is the money of kings. Silver, the money of gentlemen. Barter, the money of peasants. And then what's the money of slaves? Debt. You use this every day. Okay. And if I gave them the whole pile, there's like 9 ones here, they would definitely think, oh, I'll definitely take the pile of cash and see, calling this cash. How is this cold and hard? This is cold and hard. This is not cold and hard. Further, this is just a piece of paper with some ink on it. And I can digress all over into the fact that they're going to print that stuff. Well, actually, they're not really going to print it. They're going to get it to the point where it's already been printed and all those $100 bills are going to come home because none of the countries are going to be using it anymore. When Saudi Arabia finally says no, and they'll take gold, or they'll take silver, or they'll take Bitcoin, or they'll take yuan, or they'll take whatever, renminbi, for their oil, and all the other countries decide not to accept the dollar anymore or use the dollar in trade, all those $100 bills are going to come flooding home, and we're going to have so many $100 bills because most of the money that is this kind of money, the paper currency, most of it is outside the United States, not inside the United States on the North American continent. So what are they doing? They're getting rid of the system that has enslaved us. And if you ain't ready, well, too bad for you. They've told you in no uncertain terms that this is what comes. So get you some silver. Simple as that. Okay. Anyway, the idea is, and I got off on that tangent because we're talking about being a pauper. And paupers have debt in their pocket. Creditors, where Rogers Ben Hosea is the creditor, would have silver or gold or something. I don't have any gold because one of these in gold, half of this, right, half the size, would weigh the same, and it'd be worth, what, $2,000 now? Let's take a quick look. Where are we at? Last I checked. Yep, gold is at $2,024.50, and silver is at $25.02. It was down 12 cents today, but it's still 25 bucks. Okay, so this is worth more. This just as metal is worth more. But like I said, if you try to get one of these, let's look at here. I'm on APMEX. Wait, I can do that over here, can I? Yes, I can. Boom. Look at me using my screencasting technology. All right, okay. See, look, I was looking at silver bars. And these are just silver bars because the average people have talked about trying to move money across borders or through airports, and they don't consider bars. They look at you suspiciously if you've got rounds, because they kind of sort of know. So the shape of your silver matters to the border guards. Let's see here. Let's go over to these guys. Oh, look at that. So this bug radio. This is $40 radio I'm holding in my hand. Last time, and I remember, I used to get 10 of these for 50 bucks, delivered to my door, free shipping. This was when my boys were just little, so 18 years ago, basically. Okay, let's go back to, I've digressed enough, but damn it, get your hands on some silver. Get it in your pocket. Get it where you have it, not where you've got it stored someplace else. Okay, can't seem to get past the presumption of the Court of Guardians. We're on 7. Okay, so that, you have listed in your passport, letter P, you're a pauper. Talked about that. The guardian powers of the government and its agent as a court of guardians, unless this presumption is openly challenged to demonstrate that you are both a general guardian and a general executor of the matter, the trust. And that's the thing. When you sign your passport, you could just sign Ben Hosea as executor. Done. Okay. Before the court, the presumption stands that you are by default a pauper, a lunatic, and therefore must obey the rules of the clerk and guardians, right? The clerk or magistrate or clerk of magistrates of court. We are at all times the general executor and general guardian of all our matters, including those currently under discussion, and are the result of a system of debtism employed by a private banking system and upheld by a private bar guild. This is a private bank. This is not your money. You have usufruct of the money. You know how you know it's not your money? Look, there's a serial number on there. There's a serial number on there. It's their fucking money. It's not your money. You just get to use it. Every one of these has a different serial number. And if you have 2 bills with the same serial number, somebody was counterfeiting, and they're going to come after you because they really hate it, the private banking system. And see, okay. I'm going to digress again, but at least I'm digressing at the end. We've already decided that we're going to resume this matter because you're the general executor of yourself, your court, your trust. Let's see here. But the private banking system, all wars are banker wars, and I couldn't figure out why the hell would we destroy the pipeline that goes to Germany, who's supposed to be our ally. And oh, there's a video that I'm going to put below, and you can watch it, and you can realize why the bankers would do that, because the bankers in Germany were promoting a middle class, and they don't want a middle class. The bankers in Germany were doing something different than the bankers wanted, and therefore must be punished. And one of the ways to punish them is economically by shutting off their energy, or cheap energy. But you can put two and two together. I'll put the video below. And it's just it's a discussion of three guys, and they basically tell you about the City of London and how the City of London is not part of the UK, the same way DC is not part of the United States, and the same way that the Vatican is not part of Italy. And there are the three. Those are the guys. All right, so the presumption of the Court of Trustees. It is that the members of the private bar guild presume you accept the office of trustee. You got a contract that shows that I decided to take this office of trustee? Or do you just have a presumption that I'm the trustee? Because the trustee is responsible for the matters of the trust. And in fact, when I was in jail, they were calling us trustees. And I'm like, I'm not a trustee. I'm the beneficiary, if anything. And what I should have been saying is I'm the executor. I'm the executor and the beneficiary, but I ain't no trustee. Right? Oh, we need some trustees to help clean. Right? Why? Because you're responsible for the upkeep of the jail. Right? They didn't have, they had one guy come in because they wouldn't let us use certain tools. So every once in a great while, these guys would come in and power wash the bathroom. But overall, it was us up to the prisoners or the jailers, or the people that were being jailed, to clean the jail. So you were supposed to be a custodian, and they had all kind of prison politics as to who did it. Anyway, point being is they're presuming that you're the trustee. You ain't the trustee. So you need to rebut that presumption, and one of the ways you can do it is you're not going to be belligerent about it. You're not going to say, I ain't no trustee. What you're going to say is, you got a contract showing that I'm a trustee? Do you got a wet ink signature showing that I've agreed to be the trustee of this thing? They're going to say no because there isn't one. So what you're going to do, unless this presumption is openly challenged, the challenge to the state, you are merely visiting by invitation to clear up the matter. And you are not a government employee or public trustee. Okay, that's the thing. Yes, you are a public employee because you hold the title of U.S. citizen. That would make you a government employee. The lowest form of employee. They don't pay you. You get to vote, though. Anyway, or a public trustee in this instance, the presumption stands and is assumed that as one of the most significant reasons to claim jurisdiction simply because you appeared. You didn't say you were here. You said, yes, I'm appearing. Okay, so absolutely no jurisdiction at any time may be claimed by the private bar guild over us. The office of trustee is rejected. The role of public servant and government employee is also rejected, unless you can prove that you're a public servant. I'm not a public servant. Okay, I'm not a government employee, and I have now documentation that shows I'm not a government employee. In fact, and I'm not the same as the assumed name, because the only thing that they have is that the all caps name would be holding these positions. I'm not the all caps name. I'm just the name holder. Okay. And if they say, well, then if that will mean that they didn't appear, well, what do you do? What should you do? Well, because the living man can't appear, who's going to appear? Oh, dear, that was bad. Sorry, this envelope just dumped out. Oh, look what I found just for fun. This, you can't see it. Looks the same. Oh, but it's a silver certificate. In fact, there's a couple of them in there because there's more than one, because look, they're both. So got a couple of silver certificates. You used to be able to take your money down and trade it in for one of these. But now it looks similar. But now instead of it saying silver certificate up there, it says Federal Reserve note. They're so subtle. Anyway, digression upon digression after I digressed. But the idea is, who's going to appear? How am I going to make it? He appears on paper. There you go. Oh, no, Ben Hosea Rogers appeared. He appeared on paper. Here, have this. Because the living man can't appear. I'm here. I'm here to settle the matter. Again, not belligerent, not arguing, not fighting. So bring one of these, order and bring one of these with you to the court so that they can't say that Ben Hosea Rogers didn't appear. Yes, he did. He appeared on paper. The living man, holder and holder of the name and copyright holder of the name. And by the way, I'm not the only holder of the name. My sons are also holders of the name, and I will hold their names for them, especially the one that's a minor that can't govern his own affairs. I have an 18-year-old who is all over this, and he's now able to photo read. I'd go to Learning Strategies and figure out how to photo read. Absolutely worth it, because now you can keep ahead of their nonsense, because there's so much to know. And if you can photo read, you can keep up. And then it's difficult to make videos like this because you've got so much information in your head and you've only got, an hour to try to do it in. Let's see. And see, I'm going on an hour right now. We're going to go a little longer than an hour. Many people keep telling me, do an hour, because that's about as much as people can handle. But I've noticed that when I do 2-hour and 3-hour ones, those get way more views than the short ones. Okay, so presumption of government acting in two roles, as executor and beneficiary, for the matter at hand. Okay, so so that's presumption of government. We just got done with the presumption of court of trustees. Okay, so these kind of seem similar, but there is that the government is acting in two roles, as executor and beneficiary, not as trustee. Okay, they made you the trustee, and they made themselves executor and beneficiary. Okay, now that was what the guy in Australia, whose name I can't recall at the moment, and I'll put links to his stuff, and man, they really gave that guy a hard time because he started figuring out the truth, and they don't want people telling the truth. This is how you know they're Satanists and worshippers of Moloch and Baal and Ishtar, because this is the father of lies. So you start telling them the truth, and they get testy. So is the name going to come? It'll come as we're talking. But basically, and I'm subscribed to him, so I could probably find him pretty quick if I wanted to. That's going to bother me. So let's go over here and look at the subscriptions. There you go. And he doesn't make videos anymore, so I'd have to scroll for days. Okay, let's go look at here. Feral Bill is the one that I liked. And look, I have 172 more of them. Will I find it quickly? Let's see here. And the other thing I've noticed is that I used to have 1.8, and then they've been just taking me down 10 subscribers every time I make a video. So apparently every time I make a video, I piss you guys off and you unsubscribe. Or maybe it's YouTube. But I used to be 1.8K, and now I'm 1.77K. Oh, not War Castles. That guy's, be very, very caution advised. Lindsey Williams, there's a guy that you should talk to and talk about, and or watch his videos and so forth. Anything that Lindsey Williams puts out is usually pretty used to, or pretty good for you, getting information and knowledge about what's happening. And you know what, the other thing they could have done is they might have taken him off the YouTube thing because of all the censorship that seems to be going on, and that's going to change shortly. Everything's about to get good, guys. We just got to get through the rough spot over the next couple of years. There's Jonah Bay. And there's Ancient Earth. That's a good one. Eon, there's another guy that he's a nutcase, and he's great. Justinian Deception is the one I was looking for. He's the one that figured out the executor, beneficiary, trustee, and how they swap you from taking you out, because that name was made for your benefit. But they claim to be the beneficiary and executor, and they claim that you are the trustee. So anyway, the presumption of government acting in two roles as executor and beneficiary. And not only that, the judge is going to go executor, de sort, and tort, which is the next thing. But anyway, the presumption is rebutted. We are general executor and general guardian and beneficiary with regard to all matters pertaining to the legal person. And this was written by Craig Masters. In my case, it would be Ben Hosea Rogers, as well as the flesh and blood persons. Okay, Why don't you put flesh and blood, man and woman? Because person has a very specific definition. So as well as flesh and blood, men and women, or living soul, not person, right? Because even natural person, even that they got you. Okay, so the presumption of executor desorn tort. Go look it up. Go on the live on Google and see what Google shows you back when it comes to executor desorn tort. Okay. So this is the presumption that the accused does seek to assert their right as executor and beneficiary. Oh, excuse me. That if the accused does seek to assert their right as executor and beneficiary over their body, mind, and soul, they are acting as an executor de son tort, or a false executor, challenging the rightful judge as executor, because the judge is saying, "I'm the executor, not you." Therefore, the judge magistrate assumes the role of true executor and has the right to have you arrested, detained, fined, forced into psychiatric evaluation, etc. Do whatever they want with you, slave. Unless the presumption. What did Harriet Tubman say? Because see, back in slave days, we are under the impression, because they tried to sell us this idea, that the slaves knew they were slaves. The slaves were in chains, and they thought they were. No, they thought they were indentured servants. They thought they were working the property. Many of the slaves didn't understand that they were what condition they were in. Yeah, I know it's hard to believe, but if you read what Harriet Tubman had to say, she would have freed a lot more slaves if they just knew they were slaves. And see, most people reading this or listening to this, I can tell because I've had conversations, because I have friends that actually, I talk to offline, or well, online using, what do you call, Skype, etc., various FaceTime, whatever, or Google's chat. And yeah, Ben, you're nuts when it comes to, I ain't no slave, right? I live a good life. I've got money in the bank. What kind of money do you have in the bank? Oh yeah, you have this debt currency that they're about to turn to zero. And I had one lady just teasing me like, oh, I think we're going to use, rather than silver, we'll just use seashells. Well, seashells have more value than that currency. I've seen some, being here on Maui, I've seen some seashell collections go for large sums of debt money. Anyway, so the executor, as well as questioning that if the judge is magistrate is seeking to act as executor desorn tort. Again, you're just asking. You're not being belligerent. Hey, are you trying to be executor desorn tort? Right? Because if I don't, I understand that, isn't it correct, right? Every statement is a detriment to you, so make sure you turn your statements into questions. Isn't it correct that you are presuming to be the executor desorn tort? Or isn't it correct that, right? Okay, put a question, turn it into a question. Anyway, the presumption stands, and judge or magistrate of the private bar guild may seek assistance of bailiffs and sheriffs to assert their false claim over you. In other words, use force on you. So this is rebutted, because those sheriffs and bailiffs are also supposed to be public servants. But yeah, you see that they don't act as public servants, do they? They just follow the rules of the court. And a lot of these guys think that what they're doing is right. They don't understand the system that they're in. Right? Because somebody's got to get rid of the murderers and stealers and people. I mean, like, car theft on Maui has gone crazy. I remember when you didn't steal cars on this island, because if you stole cars on this island, where are you going to take the car? How are you going to get it off the island? You can't get it on a barge. So, okay, you know what they have now? And just so happens, when I was in MCCC for 3 days, like I said, they kicked me out of there as fast as they could. I was in there with the number 3 criminal on Maui. And what did he had stolen something like 200 cars. I'm like, how the hell are you stealing cars on Maui? He didn't want to get into it. And see, when I was in jail in Arizona, late at night, some guys couldn't go to sleep and they just talk story. And one night I wasn't able to go to sleep, so I was talking story with this guy. And we'll skip his real name, but his jail name was Silent. And he basically said, "I'm a car thief. That's what I do for a living." And he started explaining to me, his job. And what his job was to go get cars for certain people, and then they'd cut them up. And sometimes his job was just to go get the catalytic converter, not the whole car. Okay, anyway, so the number 3 guy on Maui, he basically said, yeah, what we do is you get the car on Friday, and by Monday it's all in pieces. They've chopped it up. They've taken every piece of glass off of that thing. They've taken all the headlights and tail lights and all the pieces of the car, and they've like disassembled the engine and disassembled the doors and disassembled everything, because certain cars, all the parts are in demand, and that's what you find online, right? People that have car parts, and they have these whole things where they got entire networks. So, and see, this guy repented because he realized stealing grandma's car was bad and causing it so that she couldn't get to work or couldn't take the keys to the beach or whatever. So he decided to quit stealing from the private, and they started stealing cars off freaking lots. And they did this thing. I mean, anyway, he told me all kind of ways they had, because they know how to get these cars started and drive them away. And he was saying, look, they never lose nothing, because what? They get insurance. I mean, he was stealing motorcycles and all kind of stuff. Anyway, they finally busted him, and he's going to go away for a long time. But the idea being that they got him to waive rights, and I was trying to explain to him about not waiving rights, and it is funny enough that every time I explained to him that, we got called out of the jail cell, because they didn't want me explaining to criminals about their rights. But the idea being is that he has rights, and I wasn't telling him that he should get off scot-free. That's another guy. Last thing he was doing when I left was he has got a Bible, and I gave him a bunch of passages to read in the Bible, because that Bible is the giver of law. But I wasn't giving it to him for law. I was giving it to him so that, yeah, he should do some repentance and search his heart, and maybe perhaps decide that Christ consciousness was a better way to go than stealing, because that's certainly not doing unto others. Like, what if somebody stole your car, is always my question. Right? What if somebody stole your motorcycle that you work for and you just polish and you do all kind of stuff? Right. They don't want that. They don't want to think about that. But anyway, at least he had moved from stealing from his fellow man to stealing from corporations. But you're still not supposed to steal. It's kind of sort of in there. It's one of the big ones. It's it's in the top 10 list of things that you're not supposed to do. And see, guys like that, you don't want them rocking around on the street until if they actually do repent. Then maybe you let them out. And because I've known some guys that they used to be criminals, and now they are full-on Christians, and they're not playing. They're not just saying that so that they don't get punished. They've actually figured out that what they were doing was wrong, and that they should try to repent, because you're only here for so long, and what you do in this part of the simulation, absolutely positively, is going to reflect on how you can place yourself in the next part of the simulation. Anyhow, so you rebut the fact that the judge is the executor de sort and tort, right? And you got to do it before you make any kind of personal appearance. And again, I don't like personal appearance before the man goes to court. And the man shouldn't be going to court. Okay, before court is undertaken to discuss matters at hand, the judge will need to put in writing that that is clearly understood and acknowledged. So I'm going to write some of these things down, put it in the court. Hey, I'm not coming back to your court until such time as you can show me some contracts. Somebody can prove that they're claiming me as property, or tell me that they're not claiming me as property, and that it's understood that I'm not the trustee, that I'm the executor. Okay, presumption of incompetence. Oh, this is where I got to do this. And I'm going to go over here, and look, Mama Google will show you. Look at some of the things that I've searched. But let's see here. Let's go with SSA dash, I believe it'll be 89 form. There it is. Let's take a look. And I should be on my thing, but I don't want to go dig through my files, because anyway, so let's see here. Oh, look, and those are ads. Those are ads. Oh wait, there's the Social Security Administration. There's the actual thing. There's a PDF. Download it again? Sure, why not? I'll delete it in a minute, but because I can't, it won't open unless I do that. All right, and let's open it with Samsung Notes. And there it is, the form. I have one of these in my thing. All right, so authorization for the Social Security Administration to release the Social Security number. Let's look down here. I authorize the Social Security Administration to verify my name and Social Security number. Okay, so that should be you, right? And my name, see, liars on this form. And your name, that's a business, because they're talking about the all caps name. And on my Social Security card, it says Ben H. Rogers. Okay, which is different than Ben Jose and H. period Rogers. And if you look online forms, most of the time they won't let you put a period in there. Okay, So it says that if you keep reading here at the very top there, the company's agent or it's applicable to for the purpose identified. I am the individual, right? No, it doesn't say man or woman to whom the Social Security number was issued. No, you're not. Or a parent or legal guardian of a minor, or the legal guardian of a legally incompetent adult. Boom, there it is. They consider you to be a legally incompetent adult. I declare and affirm under the penalty of perjury that the information contained herein is true and correct. I acknowledge that if I make any representation that I know is false or obtain information from the Social Security records, I could be found guilty of a misdemeanor and fined up to $5,000. But there it is. They are presuming that you are a legally incompetent adult. Right there on the thing. And there's your Privacy Act notice. Anyway, other than that, it's a very simple form. Look at that. Printed name, date of birth. So over here, Rogers, Ben, Hosea. Ooh, they're not going to like that. The Social Security number that you're looking at. Reason for authorizing consent to mortgage, bank account, credit card, apply for a job, open a retirement account, apply for other. They're going to put it under other, right? Okay. So you might ask them a simple question, and I asked my lawyer a simple question. Who filled out the SSA 89 for me? You think they like that? The answer is no, they don't. Okay. So again, you're considered to be a incompetent, lunatic person, right? They look, like I said, they look at you like crap. You're a slave. This is the presumption that you are at least ignorant of the law, which most of you are, which is why I make these videos and why so many other people try to make videos so that you can educate yourself and educate others. And if you're ignorant of the law, therefore you're incompetent to present yourself and argue properly. Well, don't go argue. No, go argue. Just go, right? You're not there to argue. You're here to settle the matter, and you're here to ask some questions. Therefore, and then go look at what they did try to do in the book in Acts with Jesus. And when Pontius Pilate couldn't find any fault with the guy. Okay, therefore, the judge magistrate as executor has the right to have you arrested, detained, fined, or forced into psychiatric evaluation because you're an incompetent boob. Unless the presumption is openly challenged and the fact that you know your position as executor and beneficiary and actively rebuke and object to any contrary presumptions. Do that on paper, not in court. Okay, so there you go. And this is rebutted. And I wouldn't use this exact thing, right? The exact wording here. Come up with your own wording and understanding of each one of these presumptions, and then you can rebut it using your own language. See, because I'm not going to talk about the Roman law is under scrutiny for its contribution to the current state of the plan, distribution of rights and resources, blah, 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 right? And discussing it, in fact, there's another one. I believe Fearless Floyd has a list of presumptions that has the little section that's rebutted, because I really don't like this rebuttal right here. Okay. The presumption of guilt is the presumption that it's presumed, no matter what, that you don't go in there and plead innocent. You're either guilty, not guilty, right? So it doesn't matter whether you plead. As soon as you plead, you're guilty. And see, they pleaded for me. When I got there, there was a guy there that guy in trouble. Because I was in handcuffs at the time. They wouldn't let me in the courtroom because it was COVID, I think, was the issue. And I was in the court building under the thing with a bunch of other prisoners. And they basically let me out. But therefore, unless you have either previously prepared an affidavit of truth and a motion to dismiss with extreme prejudice into the public record, or a call for a demurrer, then the presumption is that you are guilty, and the private bar guild can hold you until a bond is prepared to guarantee the amount the guild wants to profit from you, right? Extortion. Okay, so this is rebutted. Under no circumstances is the presumption of guilt allowed. Under no circumstances may we be detained. Under no circumstances may any financial transaction occur in the favor of the guild that claims you Okay, one more time. Under no circumstance may any financial transaction occur in the favor of the guild as the claims of the private bank are investigated. Because that's what it is. It's banking here, kids. All right, so here's this. David Desiree comes up with the presumption of public record. Look how nice that is. This presumption is rebutted, right? So here it is, nice and short. So instead of going through all of this long thing, just short. And Brad, you better not cut and paste this. In fact, that's why I'm not going to give you the link. Because how many people just cut and paste? And okay, so this would be presumption 1, the presumption 2, right? In his, this is obviously coming from a document that he wrote. This is like 28 and 29 points. Okay, I don't believe you're supposed to be able to put more than 31 points or 33 points, or maybe it's 25 points. Okay, again, don't be wordy. Use as few words as possible. So here are the presumptions. You can write a short thing that maybe has this part right here, that you're saying that there are 12 presumptions, and you list them out, and here are my rebuttals. And then you come down here, and oops, I went too much, and just write them out, nice and short. So he wrote them out differently. And again, you can go over to Fearless Floyd, and he has the 12 presumptions, and you can look at what he says. Okay, all this stuff should go into court before you go to court. And you might want to file this as a matter of public record in Pima County or one of the other counties that do this ahead of time. So if you ever have any trouble, because hopefully right now you're not in trouble, you put this already, it's already in there. Hey, your presumptions. And you might want to send this to risk management in your county and let them know. Okay, again, notice. So here they all are, nice and short. The possibility of this is rebutted, and I'm reading from number 30. All public servants acting on behalf of this matter are required to state all sworn oaths, and both public and private. When I was in court asking the judge if he would, nope, he wouldn't do it. He said I could go ask the court administrator. Right? Okay, because like I said, you're playing D&D, and when you're in whoever's courtroom, they can do what the hell they want. But if they are violating their oaths, and they are doing things that are naughty, they don't have immunity. If they're outside their jurisdiction or acting outside their jurisdiction, they don't have immunity. If they can prove that they're acting on the living man, they don't have. The guy should have gotten a birth certificate, because my birth certificate will tell you that the all caps name, it was birthed on the 13th of March, and that the living man, first in line, first in time, is born the 7th. So I came 5 days before that product was created. Okay, so anyway, here they are, all nice and short. And let me get me out of the way. And let's go slow so you can screenshot it if you need to. But you better not cut and paste this. All right, so there's that. Screenshot. And there's that. Screenshot. And there's that. Screenshot. And there's that. Screenshot. And there's that. Screenshot. Oops, one more. Okay, now he put, this document cannot be signed by a corporation or a legal fiction and must be signed by a real party of interest, not an authorized third party. Okay, that would be you. And what you're going to do is get 2 men to witness. You're not going to go to a notary, right? Because the notary can only do the all caps name. They need a driver's license or other piece of government issued ID because they're looking at the all caps name. So you're not going to give them the all caps name. You're going to give them your name. You're not going to give them capito diminutio maxima. You give them capito diminutio media. Nope. You're going to give them capito diminutio minima. The living man, the soul, the thing that inhabits the vessel, right? Because this is just a vessel, right? You are immortal. You've been told this numerous times in the Bible. And see, the Christians have converted it into, well, you're one time through and then you get to go to heaven or hell forever. No. Just no. Just no. Stop it. And then they take the Christ who came to show you the way and the how and what to do, and then they try to turn him into a god. And then they try to turn Buddha into a god. And then they try to turn whoever it is. We always want them to be gods. That's apparently in our DNA. And there's a whole long story about how we got to be the way we are. Because we are created beings. We are not some product of accidental DNA. Anyway, and there's that. Okay, and then see, you can write a letter to the clerk and just let her know, because if you're going to use mailbox rule, that this is a lawful document that informs you and it means what it says. Any reply. And again, don't use this language. Don't use these exact words. Write it in your own. Right? Okay, and then you might want to find out what a fee schedule is. All right, that's enough of that. Shall we look over some maxims? I think we should look over some maxims. Let's start at the very beginning. Again, this is Family Guardian. You can see it right there, familyguardian.org, tax freedom. If you just put in Family Guardian maxims, it'll show up. Google will show it to you. What did I put in for my search? Hold on a second. When I was looking for the maxims, that is. I put in Family Guardian maxims. And here's the page that comes up. All right, so read about it. What are the maxims, right? Go to this page and read. And then I've been told by numerous people, and I have, once you start memorizing some of these more pertinent and important ones, lawyers will shut the fuck up. They'll quit lying to you, because I have lawyers that just lie to my face. They don't know about CUSIP numbers. They don't know about bonds, bid bond, payment bond, performance bond. What's that? I don't know nothing. They're not allowed to talk to you slaves about it, because that is the public and the private shall not be merged. Okay, so there's the maxim. What's a maxim? An established principle or proposition, a principle of law that's universally admitted as being just, consonant with reason. Right? There you go. Maxims are somewhat like axioms of geometry. They are principles and authorities, right? You can't question them. They can't say, oh, you can't, right? They can say, oh, the Constitution doesn't apply in here, but they can't say the maxims of law don't apply in here. The application of a maxim to the case before the court is generally the only difficulty. The true method of making the application is to ascertain how the maxim arose and to consider whether the case to which it is applied is of the same character, or whether it's an exception to an apparently general rule. In other words, use the maxim that, oops, stop it. Instead of being purple. But use the maxim that applies, right? Don't say, let's see here. See, and I used this one time when I was working for a company where they wanted me to take their benefits, the medical benefits and the dental and all that. And I said, no, just pay me. No one is obliged to accept the benefit against his consent, because I accept no benefits from the government. And this is another thing, directly from my grandmother, accept no benefits. Okay, and there are stories in my family where they were forced because of the time after the market crashed and the Great Depression, where they were on the dole, and my grandfather paid off by digging ditches, digging sewers, came home smelling like shit, to pay off the benefits that he had gotten. And he was one of the few, there were a few men there, because these were honorable men. Later on, he wound up going into the war, World War II, which is none of his concern when you get down to it. But anyway, the idea being is that he was forced to accept the benefit to feed his 2 children and wife, and he hated it, and he went back and repaid it by digging sewers in Illinois and Iowa. Anyway, anyone may renounce the law that's induced for his own benefit. But underneath that, no one is obliged to accept a benefit against his consent. And guess what? The company just wouldn't hire me. Like, well, if you won't take the medical and vision and so forth, when everybody else takes it, why don't you? Because I accept no benefits. You can't make me take a benefit against my, right? And then make me pay for this benefit, take it out of my check. Okay, anyway, so I shouldn't put in, when I'm saying that, I don't want to accept benefits, and then I say, well, let the purchaser beware. Well, what the fuck does that have to do with, right? Okay, so what you got to do is make sure that that your maxim applies to the situation at hand. Under, you got to be clear. Let's see here. Common sense. When in doubt, do not act. So if you don't know what the hell you're doing, don't do this stuff. If you don't know what this is and you don't feel comfortable and can't talk about it, don't do that. Right? Don't just cut and paste documents. Oh, it worked for so-and-so. Well, it might not work for you. Even if you did exactly correct, you're in a different court with a different judge in a different state. Doesn't mean it's going to work for you. There are no silver bullets. There are some bombs. And here's the thing with using bombs. When you use a silver bullet, you can go pew, 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 and be very direct with it, right? But if you use a grenade or some other kind of explosive, it can blow them up, but it can also blow you up, right? That's why you have training on how to throw a grenade and so forth, because otherwise, if the grenade drops next to you, and you got some enemies, it might kill the enemies, but it's also going to kill you, and maybe some of your friends. So the idea being is, there's no silver bullets. A lot of things are bombs, and you better know how to use the bomb. And then when you use the bomb, you better get the hell out of the way. All right. Let's see here. No one is bound to arm his adversary. You don't. That's okay. So that applies where you remain silent or you just ask questions. You don't have to give your adversary arms. You don't have to give them knowledge against you. You don't have to. Right? You're not having to testify against yourself, and that's going to come up here later. But you don't have to give your adversary any kind of arms. You don't have to give them any kind of information that can be used against you. Okay, that's a maxim of law. Okay, let's see here. Consent makes the law. See, that's why you're considered to be consenting. He who consents cannot receive an injury because you've consented. Every consent involves a submission, but a mere submission does not necessarily involve consent. Think about that sentence and what it means. Okay, so the bottom line is, to him consenting, no injury is done. Right? Consent makes the law. So everything I just said, those 12 presumptions, if you don't rebut them, you're considered to be consenting. And standing up in court, and I've tried it, so, right, this is trial by fire, my friends. Standing up in court and saying, I don't consent, gets you no fucking place. Nowhere. Okay, the contract makes the law. Therefore, ask for the contract. Right? So when you're asking for the contract, these are based on maxims. Right? The agreement of the parties makes the law of the contract. You have to have two parties. And when you have documents from the court, you're going to be the only one signing. So that's no contract. When you get your passport, does another person sign there? Nope. Or if they do, they sign in a box. Okay. Advice, unless fraudulent, does not create an obligation. Let's see. You ought to know with whom you deal. That's on you. So if they're not registered, their names aren't registered, well, then you should know who they are. They don't want to tell you. They're going to use, Ben H. Rogers. They're going to use their, to try to give themselves some immunity. But you ought to know, right? And he who contracts knows or ought to know the quality of the person with whom he contracts. Otherwise, he is not excusable. Right? If you approve, you cannot reject. So agreement takes the place of the law. That's why they have you sign agreements. The express understanding, right? The plea bargain is an agreement. The express understanding of parties supersedes such understanding as the law would imply. Right? Manner and agreement overrule the law. The essence of a contract being assent, there is no contract where assent is wanting. So if you sign a contract, you're considered to be assenting. Now go look up that word right there, assent. In Black's Law, not in Merriam-Webster's. Okay, court and pleas. There can be no plea of a thing, of that thing of which the dissolution is sought. A false plea is the basis of all things. He who does not deny admits. If you do not deny, you are admitting. Let's see here. And there is the important one. No one can sue in the name of another. So, isn't that prosecutor pretending that he's the state of Hawaii, a fictitious, or state of wherever you're from, which is a fictitious entity, which is a legal fiction? Is state of Hawaii in the room? You can't sue in the name of another. They do it all the time, though. Because you don't object and because you don't point it out. A general appearance. Okay, so that's why you don't ever appear generally. You appear specially, or you're here specially, not generally. So that's what I would say. If I walk in there, Rogers Ben Hosea, here, not appearing, here, specially, not generally, all rights reserved, without recourse, here to settle this matter, not to argue, but I may have some questions. Starting with, and then go directly to your questions. Don't give them a chance to speak. Who's got a contract with me? Who claims me as property? Who claims this name as property? Does the court acknowledge the fact that I am the name holder, not the same as the name? Does the court acknowledge the fact that this product was made on the 13th of March, not on the 7th? I was born on the 7th. This person was created or birthed on the 13th. Therefore, we cannot be the same. Therefore, I'm first in line, and I have superior right. An error in the name is immaterial if the body is certain, which is why they try to get, which is what they were telling me when they were fingerprinting me and so forth, stealing my fingerprints under threat of force. And see, when I got to Maui, I just said, I'm not giving you my fingerprints. And they just said, all right, then go to the cold room and sit there, and you're not going to court, and you're going to sit there until you give us your fingerprints. But they called me out anyway. I don't know if that was an empty threat or if they got overruled by a judge or what happened. But anyway, and see, and it was cordial, because the guy that was supposed to fingerprint me yelled to the other officers, this guy is adamant that he's not going to give me my fingerprints. And I said, oh, adamant, fine use of language. And everybody laughed, right? Fine use of English. Because, oh, he graduated from King K, of course. Right? Anyway, and there was merriment. Right? So it doesn't have to be anger and such. You disarm them when you use humor. And all I said was fine use of English, right? Because I was adamant that I wasn't going to give him my fingerprints. And all I said is, you show me the warrant, and I'll give you my fingerprints. Okay, I should have done that in Arizona, but in Arizona they weren't fucking around. I watched them beat the shit out of a guy right in front of me that was not being cooperative. So I decided, rather than get beat up, let's just give him the fingerprints and we'll fix it later. All right. See, but what they were telling me is that if you've got the body is certain, well, the fingerprints make the body as certain. No, the picture makes the body as certain, right? So it didn't matter if they had an error in the name, right? So an error in the name is nothing when there is certainty as to the person. Okay, crime and punishment. And I could go over each one of these, but then this video would be like 9 hours long. A madman is punished by his madness alone. You might mention that if they try to tell you that you need a psych evaluation. If you're going to, right? And do you have to answer the questions in the psych evaluation? Could they use that against you? Well, then once again, I'm not obligated to armor my enemy with my answers. Okay. Oh, I got 3 people watching. Woohoo! Anyhow, let's see here. Acting and consenting parties are liable to the same punishment. Okay, so again, if you're consenting, punishment is coming your way. You're considered to be in jail by consent. Oh, look at that one. No one is punished for merely thinking of a crime. They're trying to change that, aren't they? Let's see here. If you have committed inequity, you shall not have equity. Let's see here. No one should be punished for the crime or wrong of another. No guilt attaches to him who is compelled to obey. So this is what a lot of the people in Germany we were compelled to obey, because if I didn't obey, I'd get shot. So I had to kill those Jews. Let's see here. Now here is in rem, or no, excuse me, what is it? Mens rea. An act does not make a man a criminal unless his intention be criminal. I wasn't intending to be a criminal. I was trying to get my son out of a bad situation. All right, so an act does not make a man a criminal unless his intention be criminal. In offenses, the intention is regarded, not the event. Oh, that's rather important. The act does not make a person guilty unless the intention also be guilty, or be also guilty. This maxim applies only to criminal cases. In civil matters, it is otherwise. let's see here. An outlaw is, as it were, put out of the protection of the law. So if you're considered an outlaw, you get no protection from law. Drunkenness inflames and produces every crime. Drunkenness both abrogates and reveals every crime. He who sins when drunk shall be punished when sober. So you can't say, oh, I was drunk at the time, so I can't be held responsible. I raped her when I was drunk, so not my fault, it was the alcohol. Nope. You committed a, rape is a serious offense, and being drunk absolutely is no excuse. Same thing with a car accident. Oh, I was drunk, so it's not my fault. And yeah, it's your fault, you were drunk. Okay. So again, a prison is supposed to be there not for the sake of punishment, but for detention and guarding. See, and that's what they were doing. They were guarding me and keeping me safe until they could come and get me. Let's see here. Now, if one falsely accuses another of a crime, the punishment is due to that crime should be inflicted on the perjured informer. Ooh, Deuteronomy, right there. Deuteronomy. Anyway, we always call it Deuteronomy instead of Deuteronomy. 1918. Go read it, and read it in several versions. But the idea is that if you got punishment for the crime, and I did, it should be inflicted, and it was because of perjury, the informer should get the same. All right, customs and usages. Now understand, custom is another law, right? There is no law telling you that you got to take your shoes off before you come into a house in Hawaii, but you better take your shoes off before you come into a house in Hawaii. It's custom. Custom is the best interpreter of laws. So just read those right there. Let me get out of the way. Right there. Okay. You might even want to screenshot that. Or at least go to the page and read those. Because custom is important. And see, where two rights occur, the more ancient shall be preferred. So if it's tradition, tradition rules. Custom is the highest form of law, actually. All right. The meaning of words is the spirit of the law. So you better know the meaning of the words. Go get yourself a Black's Law dictionary, because if you're using Merriam-Webster's or some other one, they're using Black's Law, then they say one thing and you mean another. And that comes back to the 7 Hermetic principles, where number 1 is mentalism, it's all in your mind, and then second is correspondence. So they're using words where you think it corresponds to one thing, and even your name, you think your name corresponds to the living soul. No, that's a business. That's so that you can operate. They gave that to you for your benefit so you can operate in the public. On the private side, you are the living soul. On the public side, that's a fictional entity, and you own nothing. You don't own that name. It's not you. You are the holder. You may have the copyright holder. And like I said, I can show you. I have copyright, and I have a document now that says I'm the name holder, that's an assumed name. That's not me. It's not the same thing. It was created on a different day, 5 days after I was born. Get it through your head, who you are. That's the one thing you got to know. You got to know who you are. And once you know who you are, their attitude toward you changes immediately. Let's see here. It is immaterial whether a man gives his assent by words or by acts and deeds, right? Or excuse me, it is immaterial whether a man gives his assent by words or by acts and deeds. It matters not whether the revocation be by words or by acts. Well, I'm going to be by words and acts. Or I'm going to just, right? What is expressed renders what is implied silent. So express your trust. So express the fact that they have presumptions and that you're rebutting them. Because otherwise, what you're doing there with those 12 presumptions is making all their assumptions, presumptions, silent. Right? Because you're expressing the fact that you're rebutting those presumptions. Okay. When the words and the mind agree, there is no place for interpretation. And see, what you're going to do is you don't want to create controversy. Because if you create controversy, they got a job to do. Which is to settle the controversy. Let's see here. Words are to be interpreted according to the subject matter. The subject matter is generally law and court, therefore you're using Black's Law, not Merriam-Webster. Words are to be taken most strongly against him who uses them. Bad or false grammar does not vitiate a deed or grant. Fraud vitiates everything ab initio, but just bad or false grammar doesn't vitiate a deed or grant. Let's see. Words are indicators of the mind or thought. Speech is the index of the mind. Read James. And see, you don't want to be double-minded. Let's go with James 1:8. Let's go with the... Hey, you. There you go. Let's go with Bible Gateway. Should be there. Boink. All right. And instead of... Oh, wait. We want to... Actually, you know what? I want King James Version Online. More better. Because I can get there fast and easy instead of doing all the searches. So let's do... hey, you. See, that's just me tapping the screen. And get out of there. And go KJV Online Bible. There you go. And let's go over here. Starts with Genesis. Great. Let's go up to... And it helps when you know where it is, right? James. We used to have races in Bible study who can do it. And we're going to go with 1. And then I'm going to go with, get out of the way, 8. Go. A double-minded man is unstable in all of his ways. Do not be double-minded. Okay, I'm not double-minded. I'm not saying that I am, because you're double-minded when you think that the vessel and the soul and the fiction are the same thing. They're not the same thing. You're separating those two things. Secondly, you need to be clear that you're not consenting. Secondly, or thirdly, you need to rebut their presumptions. Otherwise, you're agreeing, and that makes you double-minded. That would make you a fool. That would make you a lunatic. That would make you incompetent. Okay, this book right here, and when I talk about this book, I'm talking about the entire thing, is a book of law. It's, okay, because back in the day, if you were smart, or you were considered wise, there are multiple ways to interpret any words, any word. So in a sentence, you should be able to interpret it at least 4 ways. They tell you this. The Jews will tell you this. So there's the way to interpret it for science, there's the way to interpret it for law, there's the way to interpret it for, right? Okay, so there's multiple ways to interpret any sentence. And there are especially, if you go look at the Bible code, there are certain codes in there where they can be interpreted multiple ways depending on the situation that you're in. And if you're wise, you know what's said and what's not said. You know what's been left out. Okay, where was I? I was over here in Maxims. Let's go back there. All right. So James is what brought me there. Right? Speech is the index of the mind. Okay, fictions. Where truth is, fiction of law does not exist. There is no fiction without law. What? There is no fiction without law? Fictions arise from the law and not law from fictions. State of Hawaii, County of Maui. Those are legal fictions. Fictions, it's all make pretend, guys. It's all in your mind. 7 hermeneutic principles, I've gone over them numerous times. Fiction is against the truth, but it is also to have truth. In a fiction of law, equity always subsists. A fiction of law injures no one. Fiction of law is wrongful if, that shouldn't be is, if it works loss or injury to anyone. A little typo on their part. All right, fraud and deceit. It is safer to be deceived than to deceive. A deceiver deals in generals. Fraud lies hid in general expressions. Right? A concealed fault is equal to deceit. Out of fraud, no actions arise. It is a fraud to conceal a fraud. Gross negligence is equivalent to fraud. Once a fraud, always a fraud. Time doesn't change the fact that they defrauded you, and they defrauded mommy and daddy with this document. Just because it's been 59 years, that's fraud. It's still fraud. What otherwise is good and just, if it be sought by force and fraud, becomes bad and unjust. So they shouldn't be using force, but they do. He who is not deceived and who knows himself to be deceived. What? He is not deceived who knows himself to be deceived. There you have it. So you can't say you didn't know if you know you were being deceived. This is my favorite right there. Let him who wishes to be deceived be deceived. This is the evening news. This is your politics. This is Donnie Trump. This is everybody over there with our buddy Joe, Brandon. You want to be deceived by him? You can be deceived by him. The father of lies, happy, right? They told you lies about face diapers. They told you lies about protection from certain things by doing certain things, right? Protection from injection. Lies. And if you wanted to be deceived, be deceived. And we just buried another one. Person I knew the dog, knew the kids, knew the wife, or excuse me, knew his sons and daughters, right, in the ground. Because he decided that he wanted to be deceived, and he was deceived. He who does not prevent what he can seems to commit the thing. Okay, I stand guilty and so do a lot of us. We tried, but we couldn't prevent it, right? So I don't know. He does not prevent what he can prevent is viewed as assenting. I was not assenting, but nobody would listen. He who does not forbid what he can forbid seems to assent. All right, that's with your children, right? If you don't tell them not to, they're gonna. Simple as that. Let's see. Deceit is an artifice, since it pretends one thing and does another. God and religion, these are good. Like I said, I'm not going to go over all of these. He who does not speak the truth is a traitor to truth. Yes, he who acts badly hates the light. They hate the light. You can do nothing against truth. So make your statements true and make sure they're true and back them up with facts and evidence, because they can't do anything against truth. Truth is the mother of justice. Okay, now here comes when I was talking about, all right, I was born March 7th. That other product was created, the all caps name was created on the 12th. What is first is truest, and what comes first in time is best in law. He who is before in time is preferred in right. Earlier in time is stronger in right. First in time, first in right. Those you should know. And you'll notice that I repeat them repeatedly, because that is absolutely the case. Government and jurisdiction. Every jurisdiction has its own bounds. Shouldn't be going over their bounds when it comes to jurisdiction. Government cannot confer a favor which occasions injury and loss to others. Right? So you can't give one person favor and cause injury and loss to others. Which is why we can't pay off your student loans. Sorry. Because I'm be injured paying off your student loans. And how are they going to pay off the student loans? With taxes they're raised. Anyway, it's okay. The government is subject to the law, for the law makes government. Okay, so they're not above the law. The law is not violated by those in government. And if they do, they get punished. And we're back to Article 2, Section 4. See, all of these maxims are in the Bible and in the Constitution. All right, understand this. God alone makes the air, not man. Right? Romans 8:16. Romans for the Romans. No one can be both owner and heir at the same time. Period. So you cannot be the owner of the name and heir to the name at the same time. Okay, an heir is either by right of property or right of representation. And there's someplace, it doesn't have it in here. Oh, there you go. An heir is a term of law. Son is one of nature. So you can say your son is your heir while you're conflating the two things. Son is one of nature. Heir is a term of law. And look, right there. An heir is another self, and a son is a part of the father. They separated the son from the father by force. Let's see here. Oh, and the heir succeeds to the restitution, not the penalty. Let justice be done, though heaven should fall. Right? Let the chips may fall where they may if you're just seeking justice. But make sure you're doing justice, not vengeance. One who commands lawfully must be obeyed. The end of litigation is justice. That's what the end, the point of litigation is, to get justice. Not to get revenge, but to get justice. So maybe you should look up the word justice. What does that mean? Let's see. A twisting of language is unworthy of a judge. Say that in court and you want to piss some people off. And there's a maxim to mention in court. Because they will twist the language on you as much as they can to get those presumptions to stand. Let's see here. Faith is the sister of justice. A judge is to expound but not make the law. So they expound upon it, they don't make the law. And a lot of judges think that they're making law. If you flee judgment, you're confessing guilt. And turns out the judge is counsel for the prisoner. Many judges, you'll see them. When you bring guys in the courtroom, especially federal judges, they'll tell you, right? Shut up, in so many words. Let's see here. It is the property of the judge to administer justice, not to give it. Let's see, law. A maxim is so called because its dignity is chiefest and its authority most certain, and because it is universally approved of all. Notice how I put some words in there, and because universally approved of all. All law has either been derived by the consent of the people, established by necessity, confirmed by custom, or of divine providence. That's law. Let's see here. Law is the safest helmet. Under the shield of the law, no one is deceived. There goes Ephesians again. And Thessalonians. The law compels no one to do anything which is useless or impossible. No one is bound to do what is impossible. Impossibility excuses the law. The law does wrong to no one. The act of law wrongs no man. Law never works an injury or does him a wrong. The construction of law works not an injury. Again and again. Nothing inconvenient is lawful. Nothing against reason is lawful. Nothing against reason, there it is again. Nothing against reason is lawful, twice. The law which governs corporations is the same as that which governs individuals. Individuals are godless entities. Individuals don't have souls. You have a soul. You inhabit a body. You inhabit a man or a man with a womb. Period. You're not an individual. Individuals are godless entities. There it is. Maxim of law. Nothing against reason is lawful. I did that. Oh, look, 3 times. The laws sometimes sleep, but they never die. Okay. It is miserable slavery where the law is vague or uncertain. All right, we can go on and on and on and on and on and on. Oh, wait. Human laws are born, live, and die. But the one I was looking at, the law punishes falsehood. Do not bear false witness against your neighbor. Do not perjure yourself. Do not defraud. Or, as Mark 10:19 says, defraud not. And American citizen, I am not. Nothing unjust is presumed in law. Let's see here. Legality is not reality. That's important. Just because it's legal doesn't make it right. It doesn't even make it real. Let's see here. Marriage, we're going to skip over that. Marriages ought to be free, though. You shouldn't have to pay for a marriage. Children are the blood of their parents, but the father and mother are not the blood of the children. Let's see here. Some miscellaneous ones. Let's see here. Which ones do I want to point out? Like I said, you should spend days and weeks studying these. And then looking up the freaking words. Where there is no act, there can be no force. One may not do an act to himself. So what's an act? What are they talking about? A thing done cannot be undone. Therefore, I know billionaires where there was an issue, and basically he just said, "What's done is done. Let's let it alone." I was like, "All right." The status of a person is his legal position or condition. A person is a man considered with reference to a certain status. So men can be persons, but not all persons are men. Apple computer is a person. Let's see. The Federal Reserve is a person. The United States is a person. State of Hawaii is a person. That person has employees. Officers, ignorance of the law does not excuse misconduct in anyone, least of all a sworn officer of the law. An office ought to be injurious to no one. Just because they don't enforce the law doesn't change the law. You need to revoke or repeal a law. Just because they're not enforcing it, they can come back and start enforcing it at any time. Force and wrong are greatly contrary to peace, and force is inimical to laws. Let's see. The greatest enemies of peace are force and wrong. Let's see here. You can't give what you don't have. No one gives what. No one gives who does not have. No one can give what he does not own. The government. I can't give you my name because I don't own it. They can't give you, or they can give you the name because they claim to own it. One cannot transfer another a right which he has not. So if you don't have the right to do it, they don't have the right to do it. Simple as that. He who gives nothing, he gives nothing who has nothing. Okay, but let's go back to no one can give what he does not own, and no one gives what he does not have. They don't have rights. They don't have rights that they can give you because they don't own those rights. Those rights come from God. They don't come from men. It is one thing to possess, is another to be in possession. These are kind of important. Read over these when it comes to land. Right and wrong. A right cannot arise from a wrong. It is not lawful to do evil that good may come of it. It is better to recede than to proceed wrongly. No one shall take advantage of his own wrong. Oh, courts better pay attention. No man ought to derive any benefit of his wrong, of his own wrong. No one ought to gain by another's loss. No one ought to enrich himself at the expense of others. Oh, enrichment clause, there it is. No one ought to enrich himself at the expense of others. No one can improve his condition by crime. Tell that to our senators and representatives at doing the insider trading. An error not resisted is approved. He who is silent, there it is again, appears to consent. Right? We went over these. The things silent are sometimes considered as expressed. To conceal is one thing, to be silent is another. Concealment of the truth is equivalent to a statement which is false. Okay, we're covering them. We already did these. Okay, evil is not presumed, and that's the thing. Never, never assume evil when stupidity will suffice. Let's see here. Unequal things ought not be joined. Simple as that. Shouldn't try to flesh and blood with paper. Things unite with similar things. That's a rule, right? Birds of a feather flock together. Let's see here. Remove the foundation, the structure or work fall. So if you remove the foundation, the structure or the work falls. Let's see here. He who first offends causes the strife. Now, read this one. He who is in the womb is considered as born whenever it is for his benefit. What? Let's see here, servants and slaves. A slave is not a person. A slave is, a slave and everything a slave has belongs to his master. Therefore, when they consider you their master, they consider your kids theirs, they consider your house theirs, your guns, especially if you registered, right? You registered your car, that's theirs. Your money is theirs. Everything's theirs because you're a slave. Until such time as you tell them that you don't want to be a slave anymore. You are considered to be a voluntary slave in a position of voluntary servitude under the Fourth Amendment for the United States Constitution. Right? Constitution of United States. Not the United States of America. But you are basically a slave. And you were consenting. He is not presumed to consent who obeys the orders of his father or his mother or his master. So you tell your children to do stuff, they may not be consenting, but they should still probably do it. Let's see here. Names are mutable, but things are immutable. Now, a name is not sufficient if a thing or subject for it does not exist by law or by fact. You exist in law with that document. Let's see here. Man, this can go on for days. How long have I been going? Well, yeah, just 2 hours? All right, stop at 2 hours. Let's stop here in like half an hour. Or maybe less. Maybe very close. He who alleges contradictory things is not to be listened to. False in one particular, false in all. I used to know it in Latin. I can't remember what it is, but falso in something. I can't remember how it is. But anyway, I had one that it was in Latin and then translated in English. But anyway, there's false in one, false in all. So that's why if a witness is lying about one thing, he's considered to be lying about all things. So if you can prove that a witness is lying about something, even if it's a small thing, everything is considered to be false. Let's see here. No one ought to accuse himself unless before God. And no one is bound to accuse yourself. No one can be made to testify against himself or betray himself. No one is bound to produce writings against himself. Right? All of these very clear. You don't have to testify. Keep silent, or state statements, or ask questions. But you're not bound to, right? And one of the simple questions is, can this be used against me in a court of law? And the answer will always be yes. So when you have a psych evaluation given to you, which seems to be a thing that a lot of these guys are doing now, just ask, can my answers be used against me in a court of law? They have to say yes. Well, then I choose not to answer. Because no one is bound to accuse himself. No one can be made to testify against himself or betray himself. No one ought to accuse himself unless before God, and you're not God. No one is making a voluntary confession. No one making a voluntary confession is to be dealt with more mercifully. That's why a lot of people think that if they confess, they'll get some mercy, but that's not what happens. Let's see here. The presumption is always in favor of the one who denies, not the one who affirms. When opinions are equal, in other words, if you fight to a draw, the defendant is acquitted. Let's see here. No one is restrained from using several defenses. No one is bound to inform about a thing he knows not, but he who gives information is bound to know what he says. All right. One more time with your documents. You better know what's on here. If you give information, you're bound to know what it says in there. So if you just cut and paste and you don't have any idea what that court case is about, or what because you've never read your Constitution or whatever it is in your documents, you naughty, right? Because if you give information, you're bound to know what he says. No one is bound to expose himself to misfortune and dangers. Now, you can do so voluntarily, but they can't bind you. Plain truths need not be proved. Okay. So the idea that that trade name or that assumed name is not you, that's not a plain truth, right? Because of so many assumptions. So you do need to prove that it's not you. One eyewitness is better than 10 ear ones. I love that one. An eyewitness outweighs others, even though it's very clear that you can have 5 people be eyewitnesses and they can all give different accounts of what happened. That's why you want 2 or more witnesses, right? Let's see here. What appears to the court needs not the help of witnesses. It is the nature of things that he who denies a fact is not bound to prove it. It is in the nature of things that he who denies a fact is not bound to prove it. The burden of proof lies upon him who affirms, not on him who denies. That's why they got to prove. If you deny, if you say not guilty, they got to prove you're guilty beyond a shadow of a doubt, because the burden of proof is on them. And see, what they do is switch the burden of proof to you. Okay, the claimant is always bound to prove. The burden of proof lies on him. Therefore, when I put that live life claim, I have the burden of proof, right? The claimant is always bound to prove. The burden of proof lies on the claimant. So here, that's my picture. Does it look like me? Yes, it looks like me. I shouldn't use a picture when I had my long hair. Are those my fingerprints? Yeah, I can prove those are my fingerprints. Is that my DNA? Yep, I can prove that that's my DNA. Do I have now proof from other documents that show I'm not U.S. citizen, an employee of that corporation? Yes, I do. Do I have a certificate that shows that I was born in the country of Illinois, which makes me a national of the United States, but not a citizen thereof? And it is my intention that that be the case. Right? The claimant is bound to prove. The burden of proof lies on you, not on them. So you ask questions to make it so that you can prove. Okay. Upon the plaintiff rests the proving, the burden of proof. It's the plaintiff, not the defendant, that must have the burden of proof. And they'll always try and switch that burden of proof to you. You got to prove you didn't do it. You got to prove, no, they got to prove that you did do it. When the law presumes the affirmative, the negative is to be proved. Very hard to prove a negative. Okay, when the proofs of facts are present, when the proofs of facts are present, what need is there of words? Okay, facts are more powerful than words. Negative facts are not proof. Witnesses cannot testify to a negative. They must testify to an affirmative. There you have it. There's mathematics. There you have it. Better is the condition of the defendant than that of the plaintiff, because the defendant doesn't have to prove. The plaintiff does. What is not proved and what does not exist are the same. It is not a defect of law, but of proof. Principles proved, they are not. Principles prove, they are not proved. Hence these maxims. So understand, what they try to do in court is shift the burden of proof to you. No, you always consistently have to shift the burden of proof back to them. Okay, that's the bottom of this. Where are we at? 7 minutes past. All right, so I had other stuff that I was going to do, but I think 2 hours is enough for one day, don't you? Because look, I have all these other tabs open, and then I have this computer over here with, I think, like 25 tabs open. Then I had maxims of law, and I had some stuff for the IRS, and let's see here. What else did I have open? The Federal Trade Commission stuff's on their website, and then I had some other Bible passages open, but let's skip all that for today and call it a day here. I hope you got some information out of this. It was a long one. We went all over the place, or I went all over the place, as I am want to do. Let's see here. But I think all of it was pertinent. Oh, and then I was going to go over the Constitution article by article, but let's do that another day. And you should do that by yourself anyway. Read the dang Constitution. And then when you read the Constitution, square it with 7 Hermetic Principles and square it with all of these maxims that I just read you. And then square it with your Bible also. So, you know, it's not just one thing, it's many things. Because the Bible is a book of law, and our Constitution reflects much of those laws. And then, like I said, let me just read this to you one more time, the live claim that I have there. And now that I've gone over these maxims, think about the maxims in your mind. And don't copy my live claim. Make your own. Right? This is one thing that you copy, like directly. But you might want to change it to Rogers Ben Hosea, the living man, the soul that inhabits the body, or something like that. Anyway, but don't change it up too much. And again, you're just giving notice. Okay. Let's see here. I, Ben Hosea of the House of Rogers Ben Hosea, am a living, breathing, flesh and blood with am living, breathing, flesh and blood, with sound body and mind. I am non-decedent. Okay, I'm not dead. And that's why I'm going to have two witnesses sign the thing that says I'm not dead. With a living soul, or with living soul, the creation of God, I, born live, living product of the consensual union. Okay, living product. Go look it up. Why? I put that in there. Living product of the consensual union of the woman known as, of the house, right, of, and the man known as. And notice how the woman came first. Right? Ladies first. And let's see, where I was at. And the man known as, of the house of Rogers, obviously, being conceived on, right? Okay, so I know when I was conceived. Most of you don't know where you conceived, but my mom told me when I was conceived. She remembers it. She knew when she got pregnant. Okay, that's like on my first boy. I know when I impregnated his mother. I know what date it was. On the second one, there was a lot of sex going on, so but it was within this 1 week period. And obviously, because he came 9 months later. Same as me. I came 9 months after, pretty much almost to the day, 9 months after I was conceived. Okay, first in line, first in time. You are considered living from the moment you're born, conception. From the minute that egg is fertilized. Go do nojellyfish.xyz. Go look it up, and he talks all about that. Okay, and then you are born, right? You're not, and if you have a birth, it's B-I-R-T-H. This thing that has the all caps name, B-E-R-T-H, was created or birthed by man, not by God. You were created by God. You are a creation of the Almighty God. Okay, where was I? I was talking about that. Okay, so then I put the dates and spelled them out, right? 7th March, right? Okay, so it says, on the 7th day of March, 1964. Okay, and then in parentheses, I put 7 March, 1964. Okay, on the land, this is important, in Cook County, in the sovereign country commonly called Illinois. Okay, not a sovereign citizen. The country I was born in was sovereign, though. Sovereign citizens are ridiculous. How can you be sovereign and a citizen at the same time? It's an oxymoron. See, they consider you incompetent if you call yourself a sovereign citizen. And that's the one thing I don't like on that sovereign living page. He talks about sovereign citizen without differentiating the fact that you were born in a sovereign country known as Illinois. 50 of these countries got together and made themselves a confederation of states. And then under one banner, the United States of America. And the United States, United is not capitalized, States is not capitalized, America is capitalized. So when you see it all caps, or when you see it the other way, that's obviously the corporation. Okay. So then I just tell them, go look at the state of Illinois' vital records file number, and I should know it by heart, and I do, 112, 1964, 6021, 804. You can't do anything with that file number. You can do something if you're naughty with the red number below. That is the account that the Federal Reserve created and wrote bonds and did all kind of fun stuff with. That's a CUSIP number. And there you go. You should go look up and understand what a CUSIP number is. Okay, so then let's see here. And then it says the all caps name, Ben Hosea Rogers, being the entity product created on the 13th day of March, 1964. Spelled out. And then in parentheses, oh, and by the way, AD, and then in parentheses, the date, 13 March, 1964. I am American, United States national, right? And then I put in parentheses, U.S. national, because they don't recognize, they don't have a definition for American national, but they do have a definition for U.S. national. United States citizen, and then in parentheses, U.S. citizen, I am not. Defraud not. I am not. So I'm not saying I am not a United States citizen, because again, I don't want to be asymptomatic. I don't want to be asymmetrical. I don't want to be, right, all the A's. You put the A in there, you negate. I do not wish to be in voluntary servitude, nor to be a constitutor, right? And I had to put it there, right? Because if I don't put it there, then it looks like bad grammar. But even though it just says that bad grammar doesn't change the deed. A constitutor now or in the future. nor did I ever knowingly, willfully wish to be in such state. See, I removed it, not in such a state, just in such state. But to be, oh, I should change that to a the. Oh, look, I'm editing on the fly. I do not wish to be in involuntary servitude, nor to be the constitutor now or in the future. Let's just change that to the, and that gets rid of it. Yay! Yeah, I'll do it in a minute. Okay, I inhabit. That's who the soul is. This, go watch Avatar. They're telling you, right? I inhabit Ben Hosea, the living man, who does business as Ben H. Rogers, Ben Hosea Rogers, copyrighted, right? I am the copyright and name holder thereof. See the file number, 1333-04840-00023. Minnesota Secretary of State's assumed name certificate, right? That's that thing over there. See also the Social Security numbers, right? And those are the United States Social Security Administration's number. They're not my numbers. Again, that name, not my name. I just hold the name. Okay, that's what that paragraph is about. Okay, lastly, I am the living, breathing soul who has the superior claim to the internationally protected private man/person, Rogers Ben Hosea. And then, again, and that was in title case, and then I put in parentheses, in lowercase, right? So, capito diminutio media, and then capito diminutio minima. Who is doing public business as the person, okay, so that's the person. That's not the man. The person, Ben H. Rogers. That's a business. It's a trader business. It's a trade name. Right? So Ben H. Rogers, or Ben Hosea Rogers, which is the individual business entity trade name doing business in the United States Democracy Service Corporation and internationally. I am authorized to represent Ben H. Rogers, Ben H. Rogers, / Ben Hosea Rogers in the public. That's it. Those are my declarations. Then I'm going to put a picture of me. And then I'll put my fingerprints. And then get two people who know this to be true to sign it. Both men. Although I'm going to do one where my son and my common law wife also sign. But the one that is more potent is the one that's witnessed by two men, unfortunately. And that's it. And see, I'm going to make one change to this document. And the one change is going to be that I do not wish to be in voluntary servitude nor to be a constitutor. I'm going to change it to be the constitutor, now or in the future. And who would be the constitutor? The constitutor for that name, Ben Hosea Rogers. What's a constitutor? Go look it up. One that owes the debt of another. I'm not the trustee, is what that's basically saying. Okie dokie. Let's call it a day. Hope you got some fun stuff out of this. Share this with your friends. This one is not so disjointed. And I think it's there's good information here. You may have people, and then again, watch it at 2 times speed, right? Because of all the pauses and so forth. So you go 2 times speed, and now instead of you spending 2 hours, you spend 1 hour and 9 minutes. So take it easy, Crime Stoppers. E pluribus unum. Educate yourself, educate others. And just expect we're going to get through big things. Oh, wait, before I end, one thing I'm going to say that I didn't get to, I didn't manage to spit it out in a video, a couple of videos ago. I'm fairly confident, I do not know this, I believe this, that there isn't going to be nuclear war. Because when we set off nuclear bombs, that creates a scalar wave that screws up many of the others. And the others don't like it when we set off scalar waves and reset. It's like resetting, like, you know, somebody pulling the plug on your router repeatedly. So they don't like those interruptions. So what do? You can see in many of the disclosures and testimonies, William, or what is it, Greer? He, I don't think his name is William, but it's Greer. They have many people that have talked about these unidentified objects come, and suddenly their nuclear missiles are shit. They don't work anymore. So the one thing they love to do is create fear in you. So don't be afraid. If God is with you, who's going to be against you? And again, we're going to have some rough times ahead. Like I said, the simulation that we're playing just got kicked up to expert level. All this stuff I'm doing, I can't use force. How much easier would it be to go get a bunch of posse of my friends and start, shooting at people that have done me wrong or that, are being... Anyway, you don't want to use force. And if you do use force, the force you use is you call their force on their force. Again, I read that to you, right? That those that regardeth, the ones that are above them. You inform them, but you don't get to go down there with a knife. And at the courthouse now, I was talking to the guys, because I'm always talking to the guys, that they have the metal detector and so forth, and now they make you take off your belt again. They didn't used to make you take off your belt. But see, guys got clever, apparently in family court, and they were sticking knives in their belt where the belt buckle was. So, of course, the thing goes off. The guy just assumes, makes the presumption that it's the belt buckle, but actually there's a knife in there. And then they freaking bring a knife in the court, and then apparently there's been some knife fights in freaking court. Okay, so now they make you take your belt off, so you can't hide a belt, or you can't hide a knife in your belt. I don't really have a problem with that. And geez, if you are taking a knife in the court, holy crap, you deserve to spend some time away from everybody else. Because it's family court, which means that these are people that you know. This is your family. This might have been your wife or your children. I don't know what it is, but anyway, apparently there's been some knife fights in court. And of course, they don't want to talk about details. But and of course, the guys that let the guys through with the knife got into serious trouble. Why didn't you catch the knife? That's why we have a fucking metal detector in the first place. Anyway, I know everybody, and everybody know me. I grew up on this island, so I know these guys. And then if I don't know them, I know somebody that knows them. Right, so there was a guy that came to court with me, and he knew the guy that was on the screen watching the metal detector. They share a common name, which is how they got to be friends. Anyway, and then I saw another guy that was talking story with that guy, and I knew that guy. So anyway, we were talking story, and I was like, how come you're doing this again? And they explained to me. Anyway, point being is there are certain people you don't want in the public. There are certain guys that unless they, right? So you don't want to use violence. And if you do use violence, you might want to spend some time away from everybody else until you figure out you shouldn't be using violence. Now, there is a time and a place for violence, but we're not there yet. And we exhaust all remedies before you go to violence. Simple as that, because I know plenty of people that are hoping this thing falls apart and that there's a civil war. No, that's the last thing you want. Okay, and again, we're playing on hard because you're trying to get through this without using violence. And when we get to the other side, there's going to be technology that's going to blow your mind. My teeth's going to get fixed with that technology. I'm going to have to use the old school bullshit technology to fix my teeth. And some people are saying that sounds like I have a lisp or that I'm slurring my words. Yeah, it's because I got a fucked up tooth over here. It's amazing how one tooth makes a difference. Because there's a hole in the tooth and the sound comes out through that hole instead of straight through the forward. So anyway. What else? I think that's it. I was trying to sign off, and there went a whole bunch more time. So, okay, take it easy, Crime Stoppers. E pluribus unum. Hence this right there, because that's what that says. E pluribus unum. Also what it says right there. E pluribus unum. From many, one. We all get along, and if we can't get together, we got problems. Right? So go listen to Tina Turner, and don't be distracted by tits and ass. Right? Because that's the distraction, but the words are there. And see, that's the same thing. The distraction in the Super Bowl when they are being the enchantress, right? And instead of you realizing, wait a minute, this is evil. Wait a second, that's Ishtar. Oh, wait a second, they're doing terrible things. They're doing pornography. They're doing, right? But they're singing and dancing, so it's okay because it's art. No, it's not. Okay. Share this with others, like I said. Hopefully they get some information out of it. I could make a video like this for the next 5 days, 2 hours a day, just going over the maxims, because you saw how many of them are. And that's not even a complete list of the maxims. And there's no Latin there. I can go to a different page. Crooks Law Corner has a great set of legal maxims, and that has the Latin and then translated into English. And you can see where a lot of these things come from. Okay. I think that'll do it. Finally, I am, in fact, signing off. Let's see here. Yeah, I gotta press extra buttons, though, to sign off, though. So anyway, e pluribus unum. Educate self, educate others, and I will talk to you guys soon.